lose the rhythm when you have phones, these cell towers, the nanotech in the air, chemtrails, aquamated water, poisonous food. You're around these people, you're breathing in their microbiome. They're literally, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, they are a walking disease because every single venereal disease that we know of is connected to their DNA. And someone earlier in the chat put chlamydia, facts, a venereal disease. If you're eating dairy, if you're eating bread, if you're eating cheese, you have chlamydia, whether you see the symptoms present or not. If you've been eating that shit your whole life, you would have had to have had it at least once in your lifetime. It's not all the time because somebody is dirty or nasty because of what they're doing behind closed doors. It could be their diet, right? It could be what they're consuming, what they're eating, right? I know a lot of women, we sometimes can undergo the same reproductive issues. It's the diet, all right? If you're having consistent UTIs, chlamydia, if you just can't get rid of a UTI, it's probably because of sugar, right? It's probably because of something going on with the kidneys, something going on with the way that your body is actually filtering out waste, right? So you got to get away from what is feeding the antigens. You got to get away from the parasites, which means that you have to completely leave it alone. A lot of people go on a diet or go on a fast. That's not enough to get rid of antigens that you've been feeding epigenetically for generations, right? So that's the thing. Somebody said, I've been doing a detox. Good. Somebody said, what about goat milk? Why would you need to drink a goat's milk if you're neuromelanated, right? Goat milk comes from animals. So you would not need that. Now, these other people need milk. They need cheese. They need dairy. They need these things because they share DNA with these animals. So it feeds their DNA because that is their DNA. But your DNA, remember, is liquid sunlight. So above all else, you need to be in the sun at least 2 to 4 hours a day. At this point in time, because of the radiation that we're seeing that's ground level, you really need to be outside 6+ hours a day. Like if you're trying to get rid of parasites and antigens and really get the body right, you need to be out there 6+ hours a day. If you can't go out during the day, then you need to try to find a way to be outside at night because it's still the same radiation. Matter of fact, these people are getting sunburn at night. That's how potent the radiation is on this planet right now at all times of day. All right. So yeah, all day. Yeah. Anything, facts. You just need to be drinking water or fruit juice. You see what I'm saying? Water or fruit juice. That's it. Coconut milk, right? No milk at all. Facts. No milk. Boiling and filtering is better. That's basically distillation, which I'm learning how to do on my own. I have a book. I haven't posted this yet, but I've had this book for like 3.5 years and I need to post it and with the rest of the books, but it's called Practical Alchemy. And it talks about water distillation in there. And these Bunsen burners and these different, the things that they use in chemistry for the different chemicals that they're measuring out and things like that. So those tools, those glass tools that they're using, the water what they use to distill the water looks like a water pipe or a bong. I don't know if that'll flag the live. I'm gonna just put F1, but there's a reason why they sell, what I just said to you in the so-called shops. You know what I'm saying? And it's because of how they seen us use it anciently or how they seen us use those things over time, right? When we begin to get socialized with them and things. Because like I said, these people don't create anything. They had to have seen it somewhere first. They had to have seen it. If they didn't see us do it, they seen our animals do it. If they didn't see the animals, they seen the insects, right? Helicopters. If you study the way that dragonflies, like how they actually connect to the grid, the electromagnetism, the electromagnetic grid, a lot of insects are defying physics and gravity. Right? That's the same process that we would see mimicked with helicopters, right? Army ants, if you structure the way that they move in their civilizations, that's kind of like the same movement that's used in the army, right? When I say that these people didn't create anything, they didn't create anything, right? Every single thing that we see them do is something that they seen nature do first. That's why we got to tap into our creativity more, because that's our genetics. That's the neuromelanin. The neuromelanin is the memory. The more you exercise your memory, the more you can actually access that dormant DNA, right? So I just wanted to say that. Let's see. Z Loner, did you mean to come up? Like, I see you're in a request. Did you mean to request that they don't have the brain power capacity crate? Yep.
Hello.
Greetings.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I have a question. So, about like, cause I know you were talking about the milk, right? About not giving, drinking animals milk and stuff like that. So, what do you say about, alternatives for, toddlers, like, giving the babies toddlers, like, the toddlers, calcium. What would you suggest?
I mean, the first thing I would suggest is breastfeeding, even into the toddler stage. The next thing that I would suggest would be hemp seed milk, coconut milk,
Mm,
nut milks, walnut
gotcha.
milk,
Okay.
almond milk, pecan milk,
Like that.
and you can sweeten it with dates for them or coconut sugar. Those types of sugars won't mess up their teeth like you see in Similac and juice and stuff like that. Actually, I'm studying something right now where they said that children that was given Similac had issues with uneven and uneven spaced teeth. So because of, like you're saying, with the calcium and the construction of bones, for strong bones you need calcium, but you need phosphorus as well,
And magnesium as well, right?
and magnesium. Yes, especially if it's a girl child, she's gonna
Yes, I
need her
have two girl
magnesium.
twins.
Oh, for sure. They're gonna need nuts for sure. I would get them on the nut milks as soon as possible. Hazelnuts, if they like that. All of the anything that is high in magnesium. If you're struggling with something like that, I would say the nuts and the seeds. Chia seed, even like in their juices, you can make them chia seed puddings, chia seed juice to structure their water. That's going to help them get more minerals and help with their bone and muscle development.
Oh man, this is such good information. I appreciate this so much.
For sure.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. All right, take care.
You too. Z Loner, it was an accident. You were requesting up. She said that's so true. I have gap teeth, and yep, I had to have braces. I had to have braces bad. Like what? Like I had to have braces bad. So Savage 6 Evolution, and they show a money, or they show a monkey. Facts. So yep, vitamin K, all the minerals. You know what I'm saying? Photo said, what's the point? You're not natural. That's the point. All right. So let's see. If nobody has anything else, I'm gonna leave. Anything else? Anybody want to request up? Any other questions? Anything you want to say? Anything that I was wrong about? Because I will play this live back. Sometimes I do misspeak. I do misspeak. I do misspeak. I do stutter. If you don't like stuttering, don't listen to me. Because I know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just sometimes in live with the people on the panel, the comments, and trying to recall across all branches of science, it can be a little bit difficult and challenging, which is why I do it. Because I want to strengthen my neuroplasticity. I want to push my mind because that's what helps me create my reality. That's what helps me manifest easier. So I'm saying that's what makes me have greater willpower, right? That's what makes me stronger. So what I do is I do download all the lives, the good ones at least, and I post them on YouTube. Most of the lives that you see on YouTube are just the audio, but if hearing the audio helps you better grasp the topic or better grasp prokaryotes or better grasp your anatomy and yourself, those are still very useful to a lot of people. The last video that I did has sources. So you will see the 13 bloodlines, right? You will see the entity that was splicing, what's depicted in stone, the breakdown on the mutations, what the mutations look like. You'll be able to see hypertrichosis, right? Werewolf syndrome or the vampire syndrome. it's easier for me to source everything afterwards and put it on the screen for you than it is for me to scroll through 4,000 sources. And then I'm sitting next to 20 some odd books, right? And then I've got 20 plus books on my phone. I just decide to just recall it as best I can. So if you have a question, let me know. You see what I'm saying? And that's in the DMs or whatever. Let me see. I see Gigi the storyteller is requesting up. Do you want to say something? Gigi the storyteller 722. All right, that sounds like an accident. Kingpin, did you mean to request up? Kingpin?
Yes, yes, it's no accident either, sister. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I just wanted to say I really appreciate you. And you sound like one of my mentors. The late, well, she's transitioned, but Dr. Frances Luella Chris Wilson. She was speaking on annihilation and genetics. And that's a hard subject for some people to swallow if they don't look at it as educational view. See, you've been educating everybody on here, and some people getting offended because they're not in the right spirit of receiving education. And what you were saying is correct, young lady. Everything you were saying correct. I'm not gonna hold you long. I just want to appreciate you. And it's very kind of rare to see other cosmic children on this earth because a lot of these people are asleep. So they can't comprehend what you're saying. Even the physical part of what you're saying, they can't get it. But just keep on doing what you're doing, sister. Keep pushing. Time will tell. The sun will tell. And you're right about the eating part. The vehicles that the Creator have given us to live in, it haven't been designed to eat meat. It really haven't because it's too much. Really, come on, it's like really common sense. You eating some dead. You're eating dead. We are living beings in these vehicles, and we light energy. Also in the other realm, over the third dimension and fifth dimension, which a lot of folks not gonna see, which I understand. It's okay. But you keep going. Pushing on, sister. And
Gratitude for saying that.
yes, ma'am. No problem, sister. Y'all take
Yeah.
care. Be blessed.
Be blessed. Thank you for that. Bliss, right? Because blessed means be blessed, right? So
That's
be
right.
blessed.
And it means to sprinkle blood on somebody.
Absolutely. Facts. So yeah, y'all, I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna stay on here. Look, when I'm in the sun, I got a lot of power. I was in the sun all day yesterday, and I fasted the majority of yesterday. So I'm trying to think: am I gonna push this live a little bit further, or what am I gonna do? You see what I'm saying? Because I'm on a mission to reach as many brothers and sisters as I can because this knowledge is ours. You know what I'm saying? He brought up Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. You see what I'm saying? I would advise y'all to read ISIS papers. I would advise y'all to read or look at her interviews. Even the books that are on my page. Why Darkness Matters is written by 4 BLK neuroscientists, right? Study Dr. Delbert Blair, Sister Deborah Moore, Sister Myra Moss. Who else? Dr. Layla Africa. Like, we've had this information for decades. It's just that we've been in different frequencies. We've been undergoing different things, right? With these people, poisoning of our communities, poisoning of the food, when it comes to the incarceration, them experimenting on us. And that's something that I'm working on. And the next live that I'm putting together right now is putting up all the sources that I have on MK Ultra and the Cold War and them experimenting on our men, right? It's not just the syphilis experiment. A lot of rugs, before they're considered rugs, they have to be tested on us first because of our capacity of neuromelanin and the greater brain capacity. So you'll be able to see that soon, y'all. Let me see. I see that Infinite Mind. I think I'm saying that right. Go ahead.
Yeah, Infinite Mind. Thank you for thanks for having me up. Yeah, I wanted to comment, but I also before that I wanted to just say that you're a breath of. I've been listening to you. I've been popping in and out for a while since you've been on here. I've been listening to you, And I think this is my first time coming across you. I think this is, but yeah, I just want to say that you and the conversation that you've been having is a breath of fresh air on this app, given, you know, all the nonsensical foolishness that you hear from day to day on this app. Yeah, you are a breath of fresh air just listening to this. Because when I scroll through here, this is the level of conversation that I like to have, and it is so extremely difficult to find on this app. So I wanted to say that first, and also I wanted to say that this type of conversation, because I always say, you know, like it seems that the topic of racism or racism related conversations seem to be the most dominant conversations on TikTok from what I can see. And but the thing about it is that there's a lot of foolishness concerning the subject matter. There's a lot of miscomprehension, as I would call it, concerning the subject matter. A lot of people think they know about that topic and they don't. But what you've been talking about here today, and I've been listening to you, you know, the scientifically take this apart, right? And you've done a brilliant job. And but this is the conversation that needs to be had. I always say, in regards to so-called race-related issues, just throughout the world period today, because it seems to be it's a very relevant issue. It's a very ugly issue, but it's also a very relevant issue. And it needs to be, I always say that it needs to be approached in a specific manner in order to truly debunk it, in order to truly dismantle and eradicate it. It has to be approached from a mature perspective. And I think that's one of the things that's missing, is it has to be approached from a mature perspective. And conversations like this, which you've been having today, is definitely taking it in that direction. Like I've been noticing too, as I've been popping in and out, that the panel will fill up and then people will drop off. Like it hasn't been, you know, the presence of it hasn't been consistent. Like people aren't really hanging around, and I think that's because the conversation is too hard hitting for a lot of people, you know. So but that's okay, because whoever's supposed to be here will be here for it. But yeah, it needs to be had from this perspective, because I think that, you know, and obviously this level of this type of information has been hidden. It's been hidden for so long. It's been suppressed well, not really hidden, but it's been suppressed for so long. And this is the type of stuff that this is the type of information that will put racism to bed.
Thank you.
It would just put it to bed with no problem.
I say this every single live that I have done for the last 4 years of my life around this topic, that when our people finally realize that it is not about race and it is about your genetics, that every single thing on the globe is operating out of its genetics. The reason why we haven't seen any change behavior from these people is because of their genetics. You see what I'm saying? Look, if you study apes right now, like you see all these white people, they keep coming here, oh, we're connected to great apes or apes or whatever. The same monkeys specifically that we see that they share DNA with are undergoing a 200-year war. 218-year war is what the scientists have observed, and it is a war over territory. Chimpanzees, they grape each other, they steal each other's stuff, they fight over women, they take each other's women, they molest the children, they grope the women. The same thing that these people do to us and to their women is the same thing that the animals that they are connected with and how they act. That's how they act in nature. So that's why I'm saying, like, we got to get to the point to where we understand that this is gene expression, right? These people will tell you flat out, yes, I will eat you. Yes, I don't have a problem with it. We were trying to tell a YT man and lady, like, that's human remains that you're eating. And she said, yeah, but it's sausage. They don't see it. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can tell them that they're eating their brother and they will still try to make it right because it's their genetic expression. They don't see it the way that the way that we do, because we don't have the same consciousness. So I was talking about a neuroscientist that I posted on my story the other day, and she actually debunked the 100 billion neuron theory. And basically, what we've come to find is that a lot of these people have been walking around with the impression that they hold 100 billion neurons, and it's not even that. They actually sit at about 70 to 80 billion, and I would even argue that due to incomplete dominance. But the main point of that study is that the amount of neurons that you have is connected to the amount of consciousness that you have. And this is why I tell my people, get in the sun, because that's what helps strengthen and kickstart the process of neurogenesis. This is what's going to help you tap back in to that DNA that's been dormant for so long. It's going to be unlocked because it's not 2012, right? It's not 2014. It's so-called 2026, right? This radiation has been ground level for the last 11 years. The earth has been trying to wake us up, saying, hey, 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 I'm up. Who's going to help me raise my frequency? So you got to be doing that, right? If you really care about the mother, if you really care about the womb that you're in, you got to enter and overstand yourself. You see what I'm saying? That's what they took away from us, is telling us that we're all the same when we're not. We got to have knowledge of self. That's what's keeping us from getting our children back, from dominating our planet, from operating in our genetics, from being in from living in harmony with the universe, is the fact that we're still trying to give energy to racism, to a system that's oppressing us. I'm telling you, if you build pyramids, you can't be too fucked up about this system, right? If you build mounds, you can build them again. Right. The fact that our women were the first discoverers of fire, the first discoverers of metallurgy, the first discoverers of alchemy means that we can do it again. These YT women in these schools are mimicking us because we're the first and the original nurturers and teachers, right? These so-called Mexicans that think that they built 95% of the structures that are here are the first builders of the universe, were our brothers. You see what I'm saying? After we, after the feminine energy actually, taught them that and passed on that DNA to them. But again, our men is an extension of us. So we got to understand that the reason why things don't look the way that they need to is because of lack of unity. The universe works in unison with itself. Look at the state of our people. We're arguing over racism, cultural appropriation, who's on which landmass first, who's native, who's not, and it's not getting us anywhere. The same people that we're asking reparations from is the same people we're in this live talking about. If you can say that he's from a cave or he's a dog, I'm going to ask you, why are you asking him for monkey coins? Why are you asking him for his money? Why are you asking him to repair you? If this same man, if this is his gene expression to act this way, how could he give you? And that's my thing, man. We got to have some dignity and some self-respect, because if every other group we've seen get their reparations and this is the people that print the money and they're not giving it to us, what is that saying?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? What is that saying? Like, if they give us the money, then what? There's no oppression. Now they can't use us. Now what? You see what I'm saying? That's why we have to move away from this system, because it's like a lot of our people say the world doesn't move without Black creativity, but that so-called Black creativity is the mind, the neuromelanin, the consciousness, right? So it's like we got to go up in consciousness to not give energy to this system, because that's where we were, right? We were moving off of matriarchal societies, right? Patriarchy is what we're choosing today. That's why I'm looking at the women, the sisters that keep going live about the reparations. Do you understand what you're doing? That this patriarchal system was meant to come for your matriarch, and you in here fighting for his money and his system. Ignorance, man. We got to have knowledge of self. So
Go
ahead.
In regards to the prompt, the prompt is easy to, evolution. This stuff go deeply scientific with it. But I mean, you could just look at it from from a simple perspective and look at food. Like when you look at the law of correspondence, right? Which is as above, so below, as within, so without, right? That a lot of people don't really comprehend what those what they call hermetic principles were really for. And they have a practical, they're not just woo woo, they have a practical use. But the law of correspondence, for example, the purpose of it has a practical use, and that practical use is for you to gain perspective on things that are outside of your personal experience. So, for example, you know, like I was going to say, like with food, right? We can look at food. Like right now, we're talking about human genetics, but we can look at food and gain perspective, right? For example, look at the rice. Look at rice, right? Mm-hmm. Now, white rice is not a product of evolution. White rice only comes about through genetic engineering. You know what I'm saying? Like that, Dr. Sebi used to always say wild rice was the only actual real, the only real rice. And if you look at it, if you study rice, wild rice is the only one that has no like gluten or starch in it. Every other form of rice has starch. It has sticky starch in it that you have to soak it or cook it out in order to eat it so it doesn't impact you. Wild rice doesn't have that. You see what I'm saying? So you can look at something simple as rice and say, well, wild rice is the most superior form of rice, right? On the other end of the spectrum, you have white rice. White rice, and again, it is not a product of evolution. It doesn't come along with natural nature. You only get wild rice from debasing and stripping down higher forms of rice, right? And that's what gives you white rice. So I'm just using that as an example, a simplistic example to apply the law of correspondence. The same thing that applies to human genetics. It also applies to the food and food products that we consume. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Just an example.
Yeah, no, that's a good example with the gluten, because gluten is glue. Like the first glue was made from flour because of the gluten that's in it, right? If you ever want to make natural glue, they're always going to tell you all-purpose flour and I think water, and letting that sit forms like a paste. That's not good for our bodies. Like you said, the wild rice comes from a different embryological origin than the white rice. The white rice is plastic, y'all. I'm telling you, plastic. Yep. It's not even, you see what I'm saying? It's literal plastic in its whole essence. So stay away from that and brown rice. Like the Uncle Ben's minute rice, please, y'all, leave that shit alone, man. Like you should not be cooking plastic in a plastic bag. Don't do that. All right. So your wild rice, if you're going to eat rice. And when it comes to your grains, we can do sorghum, millet. My favorite flour to cook with is chickpea flour. I'm not really a fan when it comes to chickpeas on my system. It's actually one of the harshest things that I eat. So the flour is better in moderation. Chickpea flour and water and your different, sea salt, herbs, spices, whatever. If you want to make sweet pancakes, same thing. Chickpea flour, water, coconut sugar, cinnamon. Boom. There you go. Right. So yeah, we want to make sure that like the grains that we're putting in our body come from biogenetic processes. It needs to say native to such and such landmass, right? Native to Asia, native to the Americas, native to whatever it is. And it needs to not be crossbred across things that are not natural. That would mean we would need to stay away from collard greens, right? Kale, cruciferous vegetables like cauliflower and broccoli, carrots. I know this is a lot of things that people eat. Green beans, right? Celery. These people share pretty significant amounts of DNA with celery and potatoes, and even bananas. And this is the reason why they call the Asian people the so-called yellow people, because of the amount of DNA that they share with bananas. And bananas have introgress genes. They're bad for our heart. It's good for theirs, but it's not good for ours because the cells that make up our heart stem from a different embryological origin than theirs, plus the banana itself. The banana comes from genetic engineering and introgression, and so do their genes. So it powers them up. Again, they need meat because they need blood, right? They need that from other organisms in order for their body to function because they are animals. They have animal DNA. So that's just what it is. If you know you don't naturally produce animals proteins, you shouldn't be eating animals. That doesn't make sense, right? And this is the reason why our people struggle with brain fog. We struggle with diabetes. And when you're a child, the brain on sugar is like what they call ADHD, right? But when you become an adult and you've spent your whole life consuming synthetic sugars, that turns into Alzheimer's, that turns into dementia, right? Sugar in the brain. So we need to make sure that we're eating sugar that comes from natural processes, which our body responds to. And we need to be balancing that out with bitter herbs. So a lot of the times, like one of my favorite meals, y'all, I'm just gonna be honest with y'all. I love dates and nuts. I eat it too much, like probably like 3 or 4 times a week. Don't judge me, sometimes even more. I love dates and I love nuts. It doesn't matter what kind. Stay away from peanuts though. After I eat something sugary like that, or if I cook something, after I eat, I chew on rosemary or I chew on cloves. For the eugenol that's in cloves or the rosmarinic acid that's in rosemary, which helps break which helps basically stop the parasites from feeding on the sugars. It introduces something bitter in there, and so they refuse to feed, right? You want to make sure that you are drinking your bitter herbs and stuff all the time too. Your dandelion, sarsaparilla, if you can do beet leaves, your pau d'arco, marshmallow root, nettle. Nettle is very good for the blood, and it's also anti-parasitic. Wormwood, anti-parasitic, very strong, very, very strong. Be prepared for the taste. Black walnut, anti-parasitic. You see what I'm saying? Neem is not for the weak. I think me and Z-Loner was talking about that the other day. Neem is so strong, y'all. Like, I'm gonna come clean. I've had neem leaves for about a month now, and I've had 2 cups of tea, and I have not been able to finish them. It is very strong. So I know the parasites aren't gonna like that. All right, let me get to some of the other guests that's up here. Let's see. I think Miss Pat was up here first again. My bad, y'all.
Thank you for bringing me up once again. I want to ask you a question about the African. Are the African and the same as us? Are we all in the same group? The white Africans as well as the darker Africans?
So white Africans, no, because they have in vitro eumelanin and pheomelanin. That's the same thing as over here in the States or anywhere else. So-called YT people are not us. Now, when it comes
Okay.
to our so-called African brothers and sisters that a lot of people try to deny, they stem from the same embryological origin as us. The problem is people are looking at the behavior, what they're eating, and the antigens and the haplogroups, and they don't have a base understanding of embryology. And so the thing is when here in the States, we're dealing with the oppression of YT men, right? But over there in continental Africa, they're dealing with the oppression of Arabs and Asians. So their behavior will be different. The way that they eat will be different because they have a different type of bush meat. The bush meat here in America is pigs, cows, chickens, and shit like that. The bush meat over there is the whatever they're eating. The Bollywood Indians are eating the same type of bush meat as the brothers and sisters in Africa, right? Bush meat is shipped all over the world. And this is, again, where zoonotic diseases come from. So the diseases will be different according to the continent because there's a different oppressor there with incomplete dominant genetics that have been introduced to the red blood cells due to grape and due to mixing. So the Asian man is slightly different than the YT man. So a brother that's being influenced by the Asian man is going to have a different phenotypic expression He's probably going to be classified in a different haplogroup. He's probably going to have a different blood type because, again, that Asian man is incomplete dominantly different than the so-called YT man. So yes, they are us. Miss Pat, does that answer your question?
Yes, you did. I understand what you're saying. One other question about the African. Why is it that there's so many different countries of African and they're basically different? Why is that?
Well,
I'm
some of
African. I
the,
can answer your question if you want.
all
I'm
right,
African.
Milo, you already know how I do. All right. So the thing is number one, a lot of some of the countries over there have just been created. Like Kenya is like one of the youngest countries over there. Or is it Sudan? I believe it's Sudan. As far as why is there so many countries, that has to do with colonization, the different tribes, again, the different oppressors that we've been dealing with over time, colonization. It's the same thing when we look at the states over here. There's so-called, 51 states?
Right.
And how many countries is it? It's like, 54?
54 in Africa.
Yeah, so it's really the same thing. They just don't call their
Right.
states.
Okay.
They call them countries.
But yet you can't navigate like you do here over there. Is it because of the colonial system that they have there? It's, like here we can go from state to state without a passport or, lines, you know what I'm saying, where there's guarded and you have to provide who you are. But over there, apparently you do have to do that.
Yeah, they're dealing because the French is like my other half is his people is from Cameroon. They were driven out by the French, a lot of their villages. So it's just slightly different here than what we see in America. And them fleeing the British and coming over here. They all work together. That's what the United Nations is. They're all a global corporation working together to oppress us depending on the amount of antigens that we have and
Right.
depending also upon the chakra system. So Earth has a natural chakra system. Like the
Right.
US, the root chakra is here. And so that's why a lot of people believe that America is the best, or we have the best culture, or the best this, or the best that. But that's because this is where the root chakra is present, right? If we look at Europe, or what is that? Europe, certain parts of like the northern part of Africa, that's the crown chakra. You see what I'm saying? So Earth is in different stages of consciousness, right? This is what they drill with the tectonic plates is joints, right? That's like her joints. The oil is her blood. So the same thing that they're doing
Right.
to us is the same thing that they're doing to Earth, trying to separate us just like they're keeping us separate from ourselves. So if anybody disagrees with what I'm saying, feel free to request up. But yeah, Miss Pat, does that answer your question?
Yes, you did. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, gratitude. Goddess Nubian, go ahead.
So I was just wondering, how is it? How are our bodies affected? Like really, the women. You can say the men too. How are our bodies affected when we interact sexually with the Caucasian race? Does that affect our genetics in any way?
Yeah.
With their secretions coming, and does that change us and make us have some of the behaviors that they have? Because I've noticed people that are with other races of people, they start acting very differently because it's almost like they're taking on their animalistic ways, to be honest.
So what happens when we lay down and procreate with other people? Something gets invoked on a cellular level known as ischemia, which basically takes the nutrition out of the blood and the bones. And the blood is what helps, like specifically the bone marrow is what creates the red blood cells. So there's also something called hemolytic disease and zoonotic diseases or zoonosis. Every time when you lay down with these people, all three of those diseases get invoked, and it takes the nutrition out of the body. And there is a process in with the mother, like if she becomes pregnant, where she will look at her own fetus as a foreign to her body because of the cells and the incompatible DNA. So she begins to attack the fetus, kind of like how our blood does with antigens, because she's reading as the so-called black brother, his DNA as an antigen to her body. He is reading her DNA as an antigen to his body, and he's adding antigens to his red blood cells each time he procreates with her. It's not just with children, like if they decide to have children. So yes, what you're seeing on a phenotypical level is what's taking place on a biological level with the ischemia and zoonosis, hemolytic transfer. All of that is what makes us lose rhythm. So I talk about this all the time. My cousin has been married to a YT lady for a long time. His skin has lost luminosity over the years. Not saying he's ashy, like he can put on lotion, but he doesn't have vibrance to his skin. His hair is always fucking dry now. You can tell his metabolism has slowed the fuck down, and he's still young, right? He doesn't have the same rhythm. He doesn't have the same style. He doesn't joke the same. He doesn't have the same thought process. He doesn't eat the same. He puts weird shit together just like she does. And it's because of the fact that he thinks that he's the same as her. That's the first disease, is the fact that he thinks that he's the same. These people shed. So you're catching the animal proteins, the unalive animal cells, and it's like I said, it's a genetic abomination to this planet and to us. I would call that genetic treason, because we're not the same species, and we can only procreate with them because of introgression, right? They were unable to procreate with themselves until introgression became a thing. So yeah, that's what I would say for that. 4D Griffin and I Am God. Is there something I said that was false? Let's see y'all say there's some cap in this rap. What was cap about what I said? Because all BLK people do stem from the same embryological origin, considering that there's only two for all life forms on this planet. So if they were different than you, why don't we see it phenotypically? Why don't they look YT or so-called Asian or so-called Mexican if they're not the same? Because what else would they be? I just want to see what y'all are going to say. So Goddess, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. And how does that affect the children that come from them? They wouldn't be considered like their DNA. They wouldn't be considered black, right?
It depends on the mother. If the mother is YT, then the children are YT no matter how they phenotypically present, because of the origin of the cells in her body. So I talked about this earlier. The father, when he ejaculates, that is called a zinc spark. He is sparking a pattern within the totipotent stem cell or the egg cell or the ovum. So she's carrying the ovum her whole life, or ever since she gained reproductive maturity and began to produce these cells. He sparks the pattern of the cell. And then from there, she's the one who splits through binary fission, crafts and constructs the child, feeds and gives the child nutrition. So whatever the origin of the cell is the origin of the cells in the offspring, because that's where they came from. So if the mother is BLK, so is the children, but that does not dismiss the father's DNA, meaning that there is still the presence of animal DNA. It's just that the origin of the cell is prokaryotic, right? Being affected by animal DNA.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. That's all I had to say. You are doing a wonderful job, and I love it here. I followed you. So, again, thank you for everything you're doing for our community, because we need to learn.
Greetings and gratitude, my sister. 4D Griffin said the hair still points towards the sun and still biosynthesizes and is still type 4. Then you're saying the bone structure, what creates the bones? The blood, which stems from the same embryological origin. So that's not really genetics or embryology for them to not be the same as us. Go ahead, Milo. I seen you requested back up. What's up?
Yeah, thanks for bringing me up. Yeah, I just want to ask a simple question. It's for you and for all the panelists. Why are the YTs the most advanced of us?
They're not.
They're not.
No, where are you getting that from? Actually, I don't want anybody else on the panel to answer that because Milo be playing. Let me actually get Milo. Why are you asking that?
I want to know. I want to know what's your answer.
You
That's why.
think that, so you believe in YT supremacy? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So you believe that these people are supreme over you?
In terms of technology and knowledge, yes.
So all the ancient technology that they're using today was depicted in by the Hopi, by the Egyptians, by the Olmecs, by the Mayans, by the Aztecs, by the original Asiatics. This is stuff that we had first that they took and they can barely figure out how to use because their brain capacity won't even allow them to. So how is
So
that true?
they took what from us?
So first of all, your orgone energy accumulators, your black body radiators, your particle accelerators all come from our cells. They're all ran off of our stem cells and the neuromelanin that is around them. So you have to understand that orgone energy is a natural thing, right? Dr. Delbert Blair talked about organic or orgasmic energy, the contract and release. That's natural. They stole that from nature. They didn't create that, right? Them having a particle accelerator is because they're trying to gain the same type of they're trying to do the same thing that the so-called black woman can do on her own. So what they're doing is they're cosplaying your mother, and now you're saying that they're supreme over her. They need her. They need our women. They need the electron. They need our stem cells, our adrenochrome. They need our organs. They need our blood to actually sustain life on this planet. I'm trying to figure out how you think that they're supreme over you.
Yeah, because they ran on the planet. They colonized the whole
You
planet.
think that? You think
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, they went to America. They colonized America. Went to Africa. Did the same thing. Middle East, Asia. They colonized the whole planet. That's why. Do you
So
disagree with that?
they didn't colonize the planet. They made you think that you were a prisoner on your own home.
So what did they do then?
I just told you. See, Milo, come on, man. You do this every time though.
It's a simple question. I don't know. I
I
don't know
know.
why you don't like
I just
questions.
answered
Like,
it.
it's
I
a
just
simple
answered it
question.
though. They're doing it for every purpose that you see play out. It's to have control. So them having control and you not being aware of it is not really control. Once you gain awareness, who's really in control?
Okay, so did they colonize Africa? Yes or no?
They colonize, so-called colonize. We can use the word colonize all day long. What I'm saying is that us having the awareness of what's going on is what will make the colonization not work no more. Like the grid is being dismantled. That's what I'm saying. UK 20,000 plus smack because of the sun. That's also coming to America. That also already happened in the last 10 years with Asia. They're no longer reproducing. They're undergoing photocarcinogenesis. They're undergoing mutations. And bears, and not only bears was actually beating their ass for the past couple months, but now snakes because of the typhoons that are amping up over there. So it's like you saying that, but our mother is wiping their ass out. You saying that they supreme over you because of colonization, but we're seeing patriarchy being dismantled from the inside out. Now that's Asia. Next in line in their genus, which would be the Dravidian. The Dravidians are struggling with reproducing. They're sitting at barely 1.0 births and they need 2.3 to sustain. So they're done, right? They're not reproducing. We're seeing the production of oil in Kuwait stopped for a whole month and a half. The public education system is shut down. The mailing system is shut down for 2027. What do you mean? Patriarchy is done. They're no longer printing money.